Hey guys, this is Sam, and we are already talking about iOS 12. Now, unfortunately, there are no confirmed leaks or rumors yet, which would make sense because iOS 11 has only been in beta since June 5th of 2017, so there's a long way for iOS 11 to go still. But Sony made this insane iOS 12 concept that I had to show all of you because it is absolutely beautiful. Now, I wish I was talented enough to create this, but I'm not, so I will leave the full links to where you can view the entire concept for yourself down below. The people who made this put a lot of work and time and effort into thinking through everything. These are all features that make sense, UI changes and tweaks that look really great, and they deserve credit for what they've done. So check out the link down below in the description. All right, jumping into it, this is the first image they shared proposing a new home screen. Now, I like this a lot because if you look at the history of iOS, the home screen has probably been the one area that has not changed at all, except in iOS 7 and now sort of in iOS 11 where we got some icon tweaks and changes. But as far as the overall layout and structure, the home screen has been the same since iPhone OS 1.0. It just hasn't changed. So this is the new proposed home screen. You've got some quick status bar icons here on the left, which is pretty cool for being able to turn volume on or off or up or down, turn on dark mode, pair headphones. I think that's kind of cool. I don't know if it deserves a spot on the home screen, but I like the idea anyway. I really like that the weather is in the top right hand corner of the screen. The time is nice and big in the top left. And then down below, of course, you can put your favorite icons, just like on every iPhone ever. I also really like the home widgets area. You can drag in widgets that you'd like. This is the feature that Android has had for the longest time, and Apple continues to not add the feature to the iPhone. It's something that would just make sense at this point, but also something that Apple really doesn't show an interest in putting on the iPhone. Something else that you're going to notice is that this iOS 12 concept has been designed for the iPhone 8 exclusively, which is really cool. Kind of a bold move considering that we've just seen the overall design of the device. We don't know exactly how it's going to look or turn out, but I think it is a cool move. Down at the bottom, you can see that they propose a app switcher button on the left-hand side, a virtual home button in the middle, and then a back button on the right. And the back button is something that I still to this day don't think the iPhone or iOS needs. Android, once again, has had it for a really long time, but I can just swipe back or tap in the top left-hand corner of the screen to go back to the previous page. It never made sense for my usage. Next up is one modification for iOS 11's completely revamped Control Center, which I'm still a really big fan of to this day. They added the ability to 3D touch on the Wi-Fi toggle, and instead of just viewing all the settings in a little bubble like they do in iOS 11 right now, you would be able to switch Wi-Fi networks straight from Control Center. It makes sense, but I also feel like it's the same amount of taps to just go into the settings app or 3D touch on the settings and go up to Wi-Fi rather than swiping up and 3D touching again. It's sort of the same process, so I don't know if it would save you a lot of time, but I like the idea. Now, if I had to guess, this next proposed feature for iOS 12 was taken straight out of the jailbreak community because this is proposing a non-obtrusive phone call indicator. So whenever you receive a phone call right now, the dialogue legit takes up your entire screen, it interrupts your workflow, and the only options you have are reply with a message, put on hold, answer, or decline. But if you're watching a YouTube video, if you're scrolling through the web, if you're sending a text, it takes up your entire screen and you have to act on the phone call to make it go away. Well, this proposes something like a normal notification. You could slide down to answer it, or just answer the call by tapping right there on the green answer button and then holding the phone up to your head like this, talking, and when you put it back down, you're still going to see the same screen with just that slight notch or slight area taken up at the top of the screen. I really like this idea because if you want to talk to somebody on speakerphone, or if you're in the middle of doing something important on your phone and you get a call, this would allow you to keep working on whatever you're working on in addition to talking to somebody on the phone. I would love to see this change, and I really hope it comes to iOS 12. Once again, this next feature looks like something straight out of the jailbreak community. I'm pretty sure I've seen a tweak that does this before, but it is the quick switcher. They propose that if you swipe over from the left side of your phone's screen, you get access to apps that you use frequently. It would be interesting to see if this would work with 3D touch, or rather it would just be a simple swipe gesture, because if it was just a simple swipe gesture, I could see it getting confused with the swipe back if you're in settings or any other app where swiping from left to right works to take you back to the previous page. But nonetheless, I would love to see it integrated because it would make navigating through your iPhone a lot easier. Now, if I had to take a guess, I think that you guys would like this next feature the best in iOS 12. They propose the ability to lock individual apps using a passcode, or like it's shown in the concept, with Touch ID. This has been something so longly requested. Like, if I could go back and pick a feature that people have wanted forever, it would have to be this at this point. There's just so much hype every year that maybe Apple will give us the ability to lock individual apps. And it would be cool because if you got some private stuff in an app where you want an extra layer of security, even though the devs haven't built it into their own app, being able to lock an app would be really cool, and it would also make using your phone more secure. Moving on, this is also a pretty sweet idea for iOS 12, having a limited guest mode. So if that a friend or stranger needed to borrow your phone, you could lock down the apps and the things that they had access or permissions to. So if you had a lot of private photos, or you didn't want them taking photos on the camera, or even browsing the web, but they needed to make a call or send a text, you could just allow the phone in the Messages app. I think it's a really great idea because at this time, if you unlock your phone and hand it to somebody, there's pretty much nothing they can't do except reset the device or change your passcode if you have one set. They can go on Safari, they can see your photos, they can take pictures, they can mess up any of your data on your games that you have. There's not a lot of restriction because it goes back to the fact that you cannot lock individual apps. Although I couldn't see myself using this feature very often, in random situations where somebody needed access to a phone, this guest mode would be perfect. The one you've all been waiting for. Will it happen in iOS 12? I don't know. Dark mode. Is it ever coming? Will it ever come? I just want to see it on the phone. Apple is sort of doing the same thing with Smart Invert on iOS 11, but it's not all the way there yet. Like, some apps are dark, some apps still look really weird and wonky. It feels half-baked right now, which makes sense because iOS 11 is still in beta at the time of recording this. Smart Invert is not supposed to be a complete feature, but at the same time, I just want Apple to call something dark mode or night mode. I want them to give us a system-wide option to create and have this look of using a phone at night, so it's not super bright. Now, I like the idea of using a dark mode with an OLED iPhone, meaning that you could individually turn off the pixels and display a true black. The concept for iOS 12 suggests that you would get 25% better battery life if you were using dark mode at night. But I think it's a really cool idea. This is also one of those features that people have wanted forever. We got teased with it coming back in iOS 10.3. That never happened. We're starting to see it come to fruition in iOS 11, but it's still not there just yet. Maybe iOS 12 will be when we finally see a full dark mode. I sure hope so. In the camera app in iOS 12, this concept suggests the ability to be able to change your video setting or recording bitrate and frame rate on the fly. I think that would be a really great idea because now you have to go all the way back to the settings app, tap on photos and camera, scroll down and tap on something else. It's a really complicated process. I don't think the average person would know how you switch from 1080p, which is the default, to 4K without really digging through the Photos Preference panel. So in iOS 12, I would love to see the ability to be able to change this on the fly just by tapping on the 4K button. I never got why that wasn't a button in the first place. It literally is just like, hey man, you recorded in 4K, fun fact, but you can't do anything with it. One of the biggest questions about the iPhone 8 right now is how Apple's going to go about handling the status bar, because if you look at the new iPhone 8's design, it's got the notch at the top. So some part of the status bar is going to be obstructed by the notch. A lot of people have said maybe it will bleed the interface up to the status bar, or a lot of other people have suggested that it might just be a black status bar, something like this that the concept proposes. But I would be so excited to see this on the iPhone 8, where you could swipe down and see expanded information about the status bar, like your carrier, where you're connected on Wi-Fi, your alarm coming up, what the Bluetooth audio is playing from, and how much battery life you have measured as a percent rather than just a picture of the battery. It'd be a nice way to kind of peek at the information or see a more detailed view without having to go into the settings app or somewhere else on your iPhone. I think if there's one realistic thing that we could expect to come out of this concept, it's a new app switcher. This is what the iOS 12 concept proposes. I would take anything at this point because right now it's literally just an app switcher with a continuity view down at the bottom to continue off of the tasks that you're doing on your Mac or your iPad on your iPhone. It is functional and it works, but I want something more. I'd like this iOS 12 concept where you can close all your apps, or you've got some special toggles in here that you can't access anywhere else, because at the end of the day, they're only 2 double taps of the home button away, and that's really quick access for a lot of stuff. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts about this concept. Do you like these proposed changes, and would you be happy if Apple made something pretty much identical to this at WWDC 2018? Or are you looking for something a little bit different, or a feature that wasn't covered in this concept? Let me know by leaving a comment down below, and of course, check out the full version of this concept because once again, you can tell it looks beautiful. If you enjoyed watching this video or you're excited for iOS 12, make sure you hit that like button down below and it would really help me out. And of course, if you want to see more videos on iOS 11 and iOS 12 in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. I've been Sam, I hope all of you are doing great, and I'll talk to you later.